milk has been very, very well studied. We have a body of literature going back hundreds of years in nutrition science on the many properties of milk.
So in America, some 40 million American women have low bone density. So that includes osteopenia and osteoporosis. But again, it's probably more. It's just the fact that in the US, DEXA scans are only covered by insurance if you're 65 years and older.
Why is that? That seems absurd. If you're telling me, what's the average age that women start to see the deterioration? On average, I know that you were 29, but on average, what's that age?
Really, menopause is the biggest period of a woman's life where they lose bone density the fastest.
Here we go with the M word. Damn, that thing is just like ravaging us. It's like, come on. Welcome to the relaunch to a Rich Life podcast. I'm your host, Hilary DeCesare. And today we're diving into a story where science meets soul and innovation is born. I got to tell you, you are going to be mesmerized by what I'm going to share. You know, I love bringing new ways of health, new ways to relaunch yourself in a way that you never expected. And today, I think I've double whammied it because today I have Dr. Jennifer Hahn. She is a board certified clinical pharmacist. I can hardly say it. I'm so excited. With deep expertise in treating chronic conditions. Wait till you hear her relaunch story. She's also all about gut-centered care, and she has co-founded Scene Nutrition. And I am guaranteeing you right now, we are going to be talking about a product that you are going to want to get out there and get right away. I am actually going to sample it today because I love it. And I thought, why not? And here's the thing. It is a bold new player in the food as medicine revolution. And so joining her is Dr. Adrienne Bitar. She is Stanford PhD, cultural historian of food. You're like, what? I said the same thing. I didn't know what that was either. She is the author, which I have right here, Diet and the Disease of Civilization. You guys, when I first heard what she talks about in this book, I'm like, oh my God, this is revolutionary. This is game changing. This is what we all need to know so that we can get off the roller coaster of diets and understand what really works. And so when these two brilliant women cross paths, and wait till you hear their relaunch stories, I know I've said it, but they realized that their personal and professional journeys were actually pieces of a bigger puzzle. They were going to impact the world in a much bigger way. So today's conversation is all about where knowledge, passion, and purpose collide. But more importantly, you are going to walk away with some like nuggets upon nuggets that you need to start implementing in your life right now, because I am. And I know that you will benefit. So welcome, ladies. So excited to have you. So excited to be able to share your journeys. Jennifer, Adrienne, wow. I am so excited to have people know who you are, how you created some of these incredible things that we're talking about. So let's dive in. Who wants to go first? Who's going to be like the first person to roll out their relaunch story?
Adrienne could go first.
Okay. Adrienne, you have such an incredible journey story around this. First off, cultural historian diets. I mean, say what? What is this? So help us understand how you came into this whole, I need to know everything there is about diet, about food. What happened? What was the relaunch journey?
Well, thank you, Hilary, so much for having us. Huge admirers of the work that you've done. Reinvention, relaunching is just something we can all look forward to in our lives. We all wear so many hats. We are so many people to so many different people that it's been a pleasure to look back at my own life and just see how the puzzle pieces fit together. I started doing food studies because I was fascinated by food and nutrition, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I did my undergraduate in food studies. And then I went on to get a PhD in a related department, and I was just doing food studies, food studies, food studies the whole way through. Because food is this amazing cultural resource of both nutrition information and also sheds light on a deeper understanding of who we are and what we value as a people. When I came to Cornell to do my postdoc and then start my lectureship, I understood that it wasn't just understanding food that brought value to my life and the impact I could make in the world, but understanding how we could shape the food system to actually make a difference in people's lives. So I pinpoint my relaunch journey to when I met Jenny and we came together and we realized, hey, you and I were different people, but our fields of expertise complements each other in such a way that our shared passion just ignited. Our passion for bone health, for women's health, and for using food as medicine.
This is so fascinating because one, looking at you two young women, now, I don't know how old you are, and I love that Brene Brown says midlifers are 35 plus, but I'm not even sure you're like there yet. But
The
an
average.
an interesting part of this is what you're doing for perimenopause and menopausal women. And yet you are very youthful. And I'm like, okay, we got to tie this together. We got to keep going here. So, Jennifer, can we like kind of dive into your story and then we're going to weave it all together because it is a fascinating journey.
Yes, that's a perfect segue because women's health, and if we're talking specifically about bone health, it's a lifelong commitment. And we don't know that when we're young. So I was diagnosed with premenopausal osteoporosis, or it's also called pregnancy lactation osteoporosis, when I was 29 years old. I was
29.
Yeah, 29. I wasn't even 30 yet, but I was 2 months postpartum. I rolled off a yoga ball, had really bad back pain, and come to find out, I sustained multiple vertebral fractures and was diagnosed with this condition, right? I was 29. I've been practicing clinical pharmacy for many years. I should have been aware of everything that's going on with my body, but I just wasn't, right? And so I wish that I had known from a young age that I should take care of my bones and my health starting when I was 10, 15, 16, because those are the critical years for bone mass, right? So we reach peak bone mass density by the time we're 30 years old. And
Okay,
so,
this is already
yeah.
you're telling me stuff I had no idea. I've got two daughters as well. No clue. All
Mhm.
when you were saying that, I'm thinking about like my own youth where I was like eating American cheese and thinking that I'm getting my like calcium. That's awesome. And I'm hearing this, but you said, should have been aware. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are listening that are
Mhm.
like, how do we become aware if nobody's talking about it? And
Yeah.
you now are talking about it. But whoa, before you got pregnant, did you have any aches and pains? And because it didn't just come up during pregnancy, right? I mean, did it start before?
It kind of did. Like I never thought about my bones prior to me fracturing my back. I was otherwise generally healthy person. So I got
Mhm,
rare screenings of my ultrasounds during my pregnancy and
mhm.
whatever. It was only after I broke my back from, they call it a fragility fall, very low impact fall, where I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. So there were no signs, but that
Mm.
just highlights the point that we should be more aware of this when we're younger, when we are healthy, so that we can be at a better place come 40s, come 50s when we go through menopause.
So let's talk about osteoporosis. What is it exactly? Because you know what? I am raising my hand right now. I have never had a bone density test until in the last week.
Hmm.
I literally have had two doctors say, "Hey, I don't see that in your charts. Have you done it?" And I'm like, "No." Like,
Yeah.
what is it? What are we concerned with here?
Osteoporosis is low bone density. So there's osteoporosis and then there's osteopenia. Whether you fall in each category depends on, for example, this T score that you get from your DEXA scan, and it tells you how dense your bone is compared to the average woman of your age. And so it gives you,
Everyone's like, woman of my age.
yeah, right? So
Are there bands of women like 50 to 55, let's say 56, 57 to 65? Are there, or is it just the massively we're kind of thrown in it together?
it's just the general population.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's why you have to take DEXA scans with a grain of salt, but it's a great place to start. It's a great place to see where your bone density is kind of landing, and then you can work from there. Like if I had gone a DEXA scan when I was pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, then I would have really beefed up my calcium and my
Mm,
vitamin D and my magnesium
mm, mm,
as I was
mm.
going through pregnancy, and maybe that would have impacted my postpartum.
So what's really fascinating is, you talk about, as you said, you should have known, and kids that are 10, 15, and your bones are developed by 30.
Yeah.
But kids aren't aware of this, just like they're not aware to wear sunscreen. I mean, this isn't like something that they are. So we've got to educate the parents.
Mhm.
We've got to get them in. But I got to bring, I mean, Adrienne, you've been so patiently waiting, and I'm fascinating here. Somehow you two got together, and I need to hear the story, and figured out that there was something that you can do diet wise. Adrienne, what was it that all of a sudden you two are talking, and how did this company Scene come up? Scene Nutrition.
We felt like it was this magical moment of, I don't know if you call it fate or karma, or this moment we realized we're friends, we're good friends. We met in Ithaca through our shared connection to
Mm.
Cornell. And we both share this commitment to bone health. Like Jenny had her diagnosis at 29. I've seen my own mom. She was diagnosed in her 40s, and she's been breaking a bone every 5 years since. It's shaped my entire adulthood and my understanding of what it means to grow older as a woman in the United States. So looking at my field of expertise in diet, we understood that there's this rapid decline in fluid milk consumption. There's changes in American diet, which predisposes us to osteoporosis, as well as the lengthening of the lifespan, but not necessarily the well span or the health span.
Mhm.
And women are enjoying living to older ages, but are they really enjoying it if they're nursing a broken ankle, a broken wrist, or God forbid, a broken hip? So
So
that
have you seen an increase? Because this is really fascinating from the time with, my grandma and then my mom. And my mom passed away about 5 years ago. And I remember she had pre or onset osteoporosis. And she would go and get these bone density tests and, kind of checking it every year. You mentioned, this is fascinating, the fluid milk consumption is decreasing. And
Mhm.
yes, people are using almond milk and oat milk and coconut milk. Do those have as much calcium as regular milk, for one? And then share with us, like, what other diet myths are there out there?
Well, for the first question, that's excellent. So plant-based milks are usually fortified. So that means there's a synthetic calcium, typically calcium carbonate, but it can be calcium lactate, that's fortified into a food. So it's basically like you're taking a capsule and grinding it up and suspending it in some gum, and it could be a fairly homogeneous mixture. However, fortified foods are they have their place, but the rate of absorption is lower than dietary calcium, like the calcium we include in our chew. For your
You just dropped the nugget. Everybody, did you hear that? In our chew. We are going to be talking about this chew. But let's keep going. Let's keep going with the myths around there, because when everyone, maybe you haven't seen it, but if you've ever had a calcium pill, they are big and like, oh, you feel like it literally is a horse pill.
Yeah.
Why is it so gigantic? And is that synthetic?
Yes, they're big because calcium is a bulky mineral, so we include 500 milligrams of calcium in our chew. And if you look at it, you can visualize 500 milligrams. I mean, it's a sizable amount. And if you're going to take that in a capsule, I mean, it makes a lot of people gag. So putting it in a chew is much
Literally
more
does.
palatable. And yes, that is synthetic.
And
And
that's
so,
another
yeah,
reason.
keep going.
Yeah, that's just a key point there, is that that's another reason why a lot of multivitamins actually have less than the calcium that you should be consuming in a day, because of the fact that it's bulky, not because you don't need it. It's just bulky.
So I want to go into this.
Uh-huh.
Scene, for those that are watching this, you know how much I love a great product. I am a huge fan of Scene. They're called Calcium Chew Complete, made from only 4 real foods for better bone health. Tell us why only 4. And as you're doing this, I am taking a bite. This is what it looks like, everyone. It's about, what do you think? Like, what? Like, not, it's smaller than an inch by an inch. It's very small. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, it tastes like dessert. It it
Yeah.
is so good. And you're saying take one a day. But
Mhm.
what are the 4 ingredients? So good, you guys. Like, I'm like yummy, yummy right now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the 4 ingredients are organic dates, milk, minerals, and milk protein, vitamin D mushrooms, and almonds. Those are our 4 ingredients. We want our product to be transparent. We're not hiding anything. There's no proprietary blends, there's no artificial ingredients, no preservatives, no fillers, because we want our consumer to know what they're eating. And so that's all that's included. It's just a food.
Okay,
Mhm.
but you said milk.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so if you have any type of allergy towards milk, you can't take it.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. So why these 4 ingredients? How did you, and this I think goes back to the cultural historian diet and the food and understanding so much about food, but why these ingredients? Because like I said, it literally tastes like dessert, which I'm a huge fan of. So super, super yummy. But how'd you come up with the concoction? Were you guys like working in your kitchens or how did you do this?
We spent a long time. So I work at Cornell, teaching food studies, and Cornell's a land grant institution upstate New York. And we're so fortunate to have a robust and current food science department that helped us formulate. We spent a lot of time wearing hair nets and full-on lab coats in the lab, very much in the technical manufacturing part. And then also, as a coincidence of our political history, milk has been very, very well studied. I mean, we have a body of literature going back hundreds of years in nutrition science on the many properties of milk. So we know 100% that it's a superior form of calcium in milk than it is even in plant-based versions,
Mhm.
like the calcium you get from spinach, or the calcium that you get from a capsule, like calcium carbonate.
So when I eat this, the Scene Calcium Chew Complete, and again, the ingredients are 4 real foods for better bone health, pharmacist made and recommended. I like that. What is this doing for me?
Yeah, it's providing you not only the calcium that you need for bone health, but all of the other minerals that you need for your bones. So bones are made of majority of calcium, but they're also made of magnesium, phosphorus, copper, iron, zinc, protein, collagen. And so our that's why we call it the calcium chew complete, because you're getting calcium plus all the minerals that you need for bone health. And a lot of the supplements that you'll find in CVS, Target, wherever you go, provide calcium and synthetic calcium in silo without those minerals.
And I got to tell everyone, a lot of times when you hear podcasts and the host is like recommending something, they're getting a kickback. I'm not getting any kickback, everybody. Like this is legit, just really yummy. Is there a time of the day that I should be taking this?
Yeah, we get that question asked a lot, but no, you can eat it whenever. We say whenever it fits into your routine is when you should be consuming it. It doesn't have to be with food, without food, because it is food.
And what if I ate the whole pack?
No.
Is that really bad for me?
That I would not recommend. We say 1 chew a day because
Mhm.
it provides 500 milligrams of dietary calcium, and that's the most effective dose in terms of absorption. So, say you accidentally took 2 or you ate 2, you might not absorb the most, and so that's why we recommend 500
I love that
milligrams.
accidentally. If you start to binge on the chews, it could go bad for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going with I want to get back to diet and disease of civilization. And I want to talk about some of these diets and every day you hear about a new diet fad. I'd love to understand through history, what are you seeing and where do you think we're going with the next wave of the right diet and which diet is the best?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful question, Hilary, and that's something I spent my entire time in graduate school and my postdoc thinking about diets tend to come in cycles, and they do more than just provide nutrition advice. Oftentimes they articulate philosophies about what does it mean to be a human? How does it feel to have a body and feed it properly?
Mhm.
And we see different cycles. We'll have the no carb, the all carb, the low fat, the all fat. Now we're looking at protein, and you'll see
I
that.
have to say that is really true. If you think about eggs, eat
Yeah.
the eggs, don't eat the eggs, eat the egg whites, don't eat the yolks. I mean, it's like, how do you know what to do? Eat meat, don't eat meat. So yeah, tell us, like, what do you do there?
Well, so there have been some very robust studies that have come out that shown that if weight loss is your goal and you're trying to go on a diet to lose weight, the best diet is the diet you adhere to.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit counterintuitive, but they've put large cohorts of dieters on vastly different nutritional programs, high fat, low fat, high carb, high protein, no protein. And they found that pretty much all are equally effective if you adhere to those diets. So that's what makes the philosophy part of a diet so compelling, because it's the storytelling, the narrative that persuades you that if it increases adherence, the nutritional composition is actually less significant than the adherence rate.
Now that's interesting. So if you're bouncing around, right? You're
Mhm.
bouncing. Is it true that you should, because this is okay, how do I really want to ask this question? The question is this: if you adhere to one type of diet,
Mhm.
it's very much like it's already predefined. Yet I've also heard other philosophies that like bring in more fruit and different color foods. And how does it, like, if you're only eating like meat, right? Like these like high fat, does it really get you all the other nutrients? And then I have to keep having you go into supplements. What,
Mhm.
I know you got my chewies here, which is awesome, but what about all the other things that I'm not getting in my diet?
Well, some diets we know are restrictive, and they actually can, we have so much privilege to be living here in 2025 in the United States, or parts of the world that have the food system that we so often take for granted. But there are, for example, micronutrients that we know that we're deficient in. So we should be grateful to fortified foods for bringing us the folic acid that prevents neural tube defects that are still really common in the world, or vitamin D for preventing rickets. But we also know there's still shortfalls. So the average American woman gets about 850 milligrams of calcium from diet alone, and that includes fortified foods. Yet the recommendation is 1,200 milligrams for women 51 plus. So supplements, I do believe, still have a role to play, even in a balanced meal
Mm.
diet, because we just know from the data that we're deficient in vitamin D, we're deficient in calcium. Some populations are deficient in folic acid, for another example. So we have to be, mindful of it if we follow a restrictive diet.
So Jennifer, how many women out of, our population, I mean, how many are actually getting osteoporosis? How common is this problem?
It is very common. And the statistics that we have are probably short of what it actually is. So in America, some 40 million American women have low bone density. So that includes osteopenia and osteoporosis. That's 40 million. But again, it's probably more. It's just the fact that in the US, DEXA scans are only covered by insurance if you're 65 years and older. So if we
Why
started,
is that? Why is that? That seems absurd. I mean, if you're telling me what's the average age that women start to see the deterioration? On average, I know that you were 29, but on average, what is that? What's that age?
well, really menopause is the biggest period of a woman's life where they lose bone density the fastest.
Here we go with the M word. Damn, that thing is just like ravaging us. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I know. It actually, in the first 5 years after menopause, you lose up to 20% of your bone density. That's guaranteed. That's just physiology because you will lose estrogen as you go through menopause, and estrogen is bone protective. So when that goes away, your bone density will decrease. So now we know that fact, and it's about how can we prevent that from getting worse.
And that's where your chewies, but you also have other tips for kind of this idea of keeping bone health moving in the right direction. What else do you recommend?
Yeah, well, we want to focus on the fundamentals, right? Like as Adrienne was saying, diets come and go, but what are
Mhm.
the fundamentals? And when we're talking about fundamentals of bone health, calcium is absolutely the fundamental, but so is vitamin D, so is magnesium, so is obtaining enough protein so that your body is making its own collagen, which are also a major part of the structure of bones. And so if we focus on the foundational nutrients, then that's a good place for then maybe to explore with the other ones, right? Because we hear on social media all the time, oh, what about boron or
Mhm.
silica or other things? Well, let's just focus on the a foundation first, and then we can expand from there.
Something that really is interesting to me, just recently, and my audience knows this, that I um I have been still going through perimenopause. Menopause is like I think officially maybe here right now, but it's like I'm on the border still.
Mhm.
So I've been tested out a lot, and it's interesting because what you have to be really careful with is you don't realize that some of the supplements have like vitamin D already included, and then you're taking another vitamin D. And so I ended up testing out where I'm on a high side of vitamin D. Not by much, but by one. And I've got this cancer on my head that was just I don't have it anymore. I shouldn't say that. It's gone. They got everything. But for me, I'm like a sunblock craze person, morning, noon, night. Yes, even at night. They say you should do that because the lights are now, absorbing all this. But how do you, if you're providing these 500 milligrams, is that what you said? 500 milligrams of calcium,
Mhm.
should we make sure that other products we're taking, supplements we're taking, don't have any calcium?
Yeah, absolutely. I would take maybe not the fact that they don't have any, but at least be aware of it. And so a big thing that we've been doing and Adrian's also been focusing on is how do we read a nutrition fact label? How do we read a
Mhm.
supplement fact label? Because it can be confusing. And so
Totally.
if we know how to read it, then we can calculate that up and be like, okay, we're not taking too much.
Mhm.
Okay, I always like, from a third grade level, Adrienne, how do we read that label? Like, what should we just, if we're only looking at one thing, what should we be looking for?
I would look at the ingredient list, and it's really confusing. 'Cause you'll hear physicians say all the time, calcium from food, calcium from food. So you'll
Mhm.
say, okay, I'm looking at the percentages. I'm getting 30% of my calcium from this almond milk or this Cheerios or these Lucky Charms. And it's sure it's in food, but it's not from food. So it's in food because someone they
That's a
fortified
great
it,
point.
but it's not from food. It's not dietary calcium. So one issue that many women have is they're like, well, I'll drink a lot of almond milk and I'll get my 600, 700, 800 milligrams. But as we know, the absorption rate is much lower at those higher doses. And then it's also synthetic calcium that's sort of masquerading as dietary calcium. So look at that ingredient list.
Mhm.
See if you see any calcium carbonate, calcium citrate, calcium lactate, and you'll know with certainty that it's a fortified food.
Hey, you realize I'm that woman. I keep drinking more almond milk because I'm like, oh, look at what I'm doing for my bones. This is so good. But now I've got my chewies, my scene product here. I want to ask you, where do you see, let's go with menopause and bone health. Where do you see that that's going to be going here?
Mm. Well, we just got back from the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation conference that happens annually in DC. We literally just got back this weekend.
Yeah.
And we connected with all the experts in bone health. We're also corporate advisors to the BHOF. And so we got to see what are their priorities in 2025. And a big priority for the BHOF and for us at Scene is focusing on bone health and menopause. And so that I wish in 10 years and 20 years that we're going to be having these conversations about bone health and menopause when we're 20 years old, when we're 15 years old. I mean, our 4-year-olds are just talking about menopause because they hear us talking
Yeah.
about it.
But
But
you
that,
know what you're doing? This is so fascinating. What you're doing is what you wish had been done in
Yes.
your day for you
Yeah.
when you were 10, 15, understanding this. And now what you're doing is you're bringing this. And I love you guys are, far away from menopause with your little kiddos and everything, but you're already preparing for it.
Yes.
And with a 24-year-old daughter, with a 27-year-old daughter, I got to tell you, they should be on this scene calcium chew complete too, right? What age are you recommending that people start to eat these?
well, really, we've been focusing on women that are going through menopause because that's, again, when you lose the most bone density in the shortest amount
Mhm.
of time. But because the calcium is from milk, you could eat our chews from a young age. Our
Mhm.
4-year-olds
They
eat it.
do.
They ask for it. Like, when are we gonna get our calcium chews?
So
And it's
great.
the
But
cute.
boys can benefit from this too. It's
Oh,
not just
yeah. Men do.
Well, in fact, I got to ask this. I got to
Yeah.
ask this. I just had my flash of my 3 boys that I have and my husband. Can they also be
Mhm.
taking? I'm not seeing on here. No, I'm not seeing any up. It does say for women up in the right, but maybe there's something here, ladies, where you're like, for men. Like, you know how they have dude wipes for men, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you just package this a little different and say for men, but do men get osteoporosis?
Mhm. So we have a line, we say men have skeletons too, even though men aren't
Yeah.
really paying attention to their bone health, but they should because a man is actually more likely to break a bone due to osteoporosis than he is to get prostate cancer.
No.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's true. It's not as common in men as it is in
Yeah.
women. And it tends to affect men in older
Mhm.
ages,
Mhm.
but when it does happen, it's serious for men.
Mhm.
Okay. So the only way I'm going to get my husband to eat these is if I take him out of this package that says for women and I'm going to put him in like a little jar dish. I'm going
Yeah.
to get him to start eating these and he will love them. They are so good, everyone. I'm telling you. Okay. As we wrap, as we wrap, I would love one final word from both of you that my audience loves the takeaways, loves the like, hey, if you're going to do one thing, and I'm going to do my takeaway right now, get the product,
Thank
get
you.
it. But what would your like one, like, hey, everyone, if you only hear this one thing, do this? What would that be?
Yeah, that's a good question. You have one ready to go?
I would say advocate for a DEXA scan, advocate for that bone density scan. I was just able to get one covered by insurance, and it was hugely revelatory and a real wake-up call for me to start taking care of my bone health now to prevent those falls and fractures later. And that aging, that frailty and fractures are not a natural consequence of aging. This is something we can prevent, this is something we can treat, and it's something we can do about.
So powerful, Jennifer.
Yeah. I think I go back to what I tell my patients. When we're thinking about lifestyle changes, we have to start now and start slow. So those two things are really important. Look and take an inventory of what your routine is like, what you eat, how you move, what you exercise with, or how you do that, and then make one small change. Because
Mm,
start to make small changes, then every day it's going to build up. And the key thing is that bones are dynamic. They're constantly remodeling, building up, and breaking down. So if you change something today, like drinking one less soda or stop smoking, it's going to make an impact on your bones tomorrow or 10 years.
wow. So great. Where can we find this incredible product to buy?
Yes, you can buy online at www.scenenutrition. So there's two N's there, .com.
Mm. All right. So I do want to mention we have a big event coming up in September. It's our relaunch to a Rich Life Live. It's kind of a tongue twister there. And tons of women are coming in. I would love to be able to have a snack break and give everybody these chews. So we need to make this happen because I believe that curating the best of the best and helping us relaunch our health constantly, and right, there's new things that we're learning. You taught me so much today, so I'm excited to have you participate in that event, and thank you for coming. This has been really, like, I love when two incredible relaunch stories come out with such impact. And you are teaching people, and everybody out there, you now know a heck of a lot more. So make it happen for you. Relaunch right now into this incredible health around your bones. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you.
Until,
Hilary.
until next time, everyone, relaunch to a rich life.